You wouldn't want your worst enemy to go through, you know, me. That's why I look at it, you know.
You can't see this and not just be astonished. I've seen houses that have settled. I've never seen something like this, ever.
Justin Heideman has practiced law for many years and handled countless cases. But he had never encountered anything like the nightmare facing Mike and Lana Hone. Welcome back to Power Attorneys. I'm Kim Johnson with the incredible case of the crumbling crack house in Laverton. This isn't a story about illicit drugs, but rather shifting soil, shifting blame, and shifty, slithering snakes.
This was our dream, to come to St. George and live happily ever after.
This was supposed to be the rainbow's end for Lana Hone, who'd spent her career working for a hospital, and her husband Mike, a lifetime law enforcement officer. Together, they saved enough money to build their retirement home in Laverton, Utah, finally moving in during the summer of 2004. All was well, at least for a few months.
August, the front of the home began to sink. And it sank, and it sank. And by the beginning of 2005, we had gaps in the walls. Yay big. You could put your fist right through the walls.
Until you get close up, you really can't see anything, or unless you go inside. And that's most people, you know, they come and look at it and say, God, it don't look like it's that bad, you know, on the outside. Then let's say, well, come on inside. They say, oh my.
You can't see this and not just be astonished.
This dream home would eventually sink more than a foot, shattering windows and cracking walls. Wood beams began snapping, and the foundation started splitting. The front door, secured by a chair with a bell attached to serve as an alarm. The builder, landscaper, and soil engineer could not solve the problem, each blaming the other. Finally, in 2006, the Hones used money from an insurance settlement and hired experts to stabilize their house. Advanced shoring guaranteed to fix the sinking structure. But it wasn't long before Lana got a troubling call from the company.
And they said, we've run into some problems, and told me what they had done, and said, we need $10,000 more or we won't guarantee this home.
Mike and Lana agreed to pay the money, and the shoring company went back to work drilling 68 holes inside the house while driving anchors deep into the soil surrounding the home.
By December 2006, we moved back in just before Christmas. February, it started again, the whole house. But this time it was caving in towards the center.
It took 5 more months to get the shoring company to respond. It wasn't what the Hones wanted to hear.
The president of the company made a visit, and Michael was there. And he came in and looked at it, and he says, wow, this is worse than what I thought. I'm going to have to turn this over to my insurance company because I can't afford to do anymore.
That's when the Hones turned to Heideman, McKay, Heugly, and Olsen. Justin Heideman rolled up his sleeves right away and went to work on their behalf. Meanwhile, the Hones were receiving some unwanted visitors.
The snakes started coming through the floors, and I saw one and thought maybe my grandson had brought that in and left it, and it got away from him or something. So I quizzed my little grandson. Did you bring that snake in? No, Grandma, it wasn't me. Honest, I wouldn't do that. And then another night, when I got up and stepped on one going to the restroom, I knew it wasn't the grandson. And there were 2 areas where I could tell that they were coming from. And when I found the 3rd snake, I put a shoebox over it, left a note for my husband, I'm not coming home. You've got to get me out of this house.
Watching her having to go through it, and that was, you know, nothing I could do about it. That's what was bad for me, you know.
When you deal with this case, it's heart-wrenching when you hear the story of what this woman went through. I mean, think of it yourself. In the middle of the night, you get up, you're walking down the hall, and you step on a snake that's come in through your floor. I mean, you're living in a zoo, not a house. And that's what she dealt with every single day.
It took years for justice to be served. During this ordeal, officials pulled the certificate of occupancy on the home and the property went into foreclosure. Ultimately, Mike and Lana were forced to declare bankruptcy. But finally, in 2010, the case went to trial at 5th District Court in St. George, where Justin Heideman's years of hard work on this case finally paid off.
Of course, at the end of the day, as I indicated, it all came down to one thing, and that's Lana Hone. I could not imagine having a better witness. I mean, I heard her and I knew that anybody that listened to her was going to know she was telling the truth.
Lana's credibility convinced the court to award a $300,000 settlement and a resounding victory for Heideman, McKay, Heugly, and Olsen.
Justin was our only hope. Justin is a pit bull, cleverly disguised as a St. Bernard. Had we not had Justin, we wouldn't have had a penny. The opposing attorney, the insurance attorney, was very prepared and very intelligent, and he was tough. He was tough, but Justin was better.
That's the thing that's rewarding about this job, is that sometimes you get a client where not only can you empathize with their situation, but you can actually solve it. This became almost a crusade, because all you do is worry about your clients. And you know, I don't know if that's a good thing for attorneys to do, but that's what I do. The case that you bring, the one case you bring in this door, that's the most important case in the world to you. I realize that, and so does this law firm. And even though it may not be the biggest case, or it may not be the most precedent-setting case that our firm is handling, it is the most important case to you. And at the end of the day, that's how we want to treat it, because that's how we would want our cases treated.
Thanks to Justin Heideman and HMHO, justice was served in the case of the crumbling crack house, bringing a happy ending to the Hones' 6-year ordeal. If you have a case and need to speak to lawyers who care, call Heideman, McKay, Heugly, and Olsen at 801-812-1000 or log on to hmho-law.com. Ask them about a free consultation and tell them you found out about HMHO on Power Attorneys, Utah's legal weapons.